Let's now switch gears and take our focus now to Nigeria, where 137 children abducted on March 7th from a school in the northwest of the country have been rescued by the army. 6 of the children are being treated at hospital, while the others were presented at a press conference hosted by the state governor in Kaduna. Officials also confirmed that 1 teacher died in captivity. The army spokesperson said that all of the abducted children have been rescued, although there is some confusion, as school authorities at the time said that more than 280 children had been taken. The rescue operation took place in the early hours of Sunday morning, days before a ransom deadline set by the abductors. Well, the mass abduction in the town in Kuriga, this is in Kaduna State, was one of the biggest attacks on a school in years. Let's now speak to our correspondent, Yusuf Akinpelu, who's been following this story closely. And Yusuf, thank you for your time on this. Give us a sense of what some of the key messaging was from the press conference that took place earlier today.
Thank you. The government said after they presented 137 children who were rescued during the weekend, they said 6 of them were still receiving treatment at a hospital in the military barrack there in Kaduna, while 131 of them were presented, and then they yet to meet with their parents. Authorities said this is because they want to do some sort of rehabilitation, some catering to their needs, having some medical checkup for the children before they are then released to their parents. And parents are still just waiting on the sideline to know when their children will reunite with them. And the clarity of that has not been given by the government. But some parents with whom I have spoken with said they were happy about the news, although they're also nervous about whether or not their children are among them.
Well, Yusuf, this has been a harrowing experience, as one can only imagine. Did you get a sense of the general medical state of the children who've been rescued?
I mean, the fact that 6 of them still are receiving medical treatment shows how the level of brutality the children might have faced. When they were released over the weekend, they looked emaciated and traumatized, covered in dirt, and some of them were still on their uniform after about 17 days in captivity, to show you they went through high level of human abuses, having to still wear your uniform up till now. And then, but then the government said they are catering to their needs, to look into any of the medical, psychological, or whatever that each of the children need, and that's what they are doing. That's why they've not released them to their parents, while parents are still anticipatory of when this wait will be over.
Well, that is reassuring to hear. Now, if you can shed some light on this, Yusuf, there's confusion on some of the numbers that have been given. For example, the number of children rescued or people rescued seems to be far less than the number that was initially reported to have been abducted from the school. Are you able to just help clarify that?
When the attack happened 7th March, the school authorities said 287 children were missing, and this was after they did a roll call and parents came to announce whether or not their child is missing. So they did like a roll call of the number of persons missing. But then when the rescue operation happened and then 137 children were announced, that gave some sort of confusion. But we still do not know which is which, because the government said 138 was kidnapped, 1 died in captivity, and 137 was rescued. So we are waiting for when the children will reunite with their parents, to see if any parent will come forward to say, I am here to see my child or children. So then we will know whether or not 137 was indeed the number of kidnapped children.
Indeed. And in terms of a conversation around ransom that had been talked about earlier, was any ransom paid? There have been reports of a demand for 1 billion naira or so?
Yes, the government has not admitted to paying any ransom, and there has been no clarity whether or not that happened. Although there are insinuations that for such operation, oftentimes when the army is able to rescue such children, they often show clips of their combat with the group, and then just to show the victory. But we've not seen any such thing. But then those are just still observation from Sokoto, that it is not clear whether or not ransom was paid. And then ransom is illegal in Nigeria, of course. But then a private negotiator who spoke to BBC told the BBC that ransom was paid. But then there's no way to verify that.
Do we have further clarity on who is responsible for these abductions and whether they'll face any consequences as a result of what they've done?
I mean, that's one question everyone has been asking, and for the government to say whether or not there've been any arrests ever since this attack happened. And that's why the attacks continue to happen, because more often than not, what we get to see is that you do not see any arrest. There's no deterrence for such heinous crime. But then at this time, at the time of the kidnap, there was talks that it is Ansaru, a breakaway faction of Boko Haram, was responsible for the attack. But there has been no group that has come out to say, oh, we are responsible for this. So we do not know who exactly. But then one thing is clear: there are some of the armed gangs that are pervasive in Nigeria's forests, and this is one too many.
Yusuf Akinpelu, thank you so much for that particular update, and thank you for speaking with Focus on Africa.